Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to you. Let's confirm we all on the same page here by typing hi in the comment section. So what I'm saying is if you can see my screen clearly and you can hear my voice, kindly type in hi in the comment section so that we can get this session started. All right. Okay, Dino. Okay. All right. Should I see that as a confirmation that you can hear and see my screen? Okay, 549. Thank you for that confirmation. Okay, thank you, Carrie. Good morning. 858. Good morning to you. All right, so let's get the session started. Once again, I want to welcome you all to yet another promising session of Extra and Speed Live, hosted by my humble self, Sharif Daramola. And as usual, I will be taking you on a trading journey in the next 1 hour, where we shall be evaluating the financial market using technical parameters to identify trading opportunities lining up for us today at the New York session. Well, the New York session will be starting in a couple of hours and we want to get ourselves prepared. But before we do that, we want to go through the pairs we looked at yesterday. We want to see how well these pairs are doing, and if we have any updates in that regard, I will be sharing with you during the course of the session. So you would want to stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of the ideas and expectation we will be sharing during the course of the session. And also, if you have any pair you want us to look at, feel free to drop it in the comment section and I will try as much as possible to include it into my plans for today. So without further ado, let's dive into the chart and let's see what is happening. So the first pair we looked at yesterday is actually the GBP pairs. Remember, we were expecting a bearish momentum on the GBP pairs. We actually treated the GBPUSD first yesterday, and what did we see? We saw a breakout of that trend line, hereby negating that selling momentum that we were looking forward to yesterday. So this is what we had yesterday. We were around this point yesterday, and I was explaining that since we already had the breakdown of the 1.06800 level during the course of the live session yesterday, that I was looking forward to price doing a rejection of the 1.06800 area, where I want to be seeing for the confirmation that will be supporting a trend continuation to the downside. But lo and behold, that did not happen during the course of the New York session yesterday, as we saw a final breakout of that structure to negate all selling opportunity. Well, I was able to share with you how price started last week. We saw our price rejected the 1.0900 level since the beginning of the week. We saw our sellers were very strong at this point. However, price is right back within that area right where it started the week, and we saw multiple rejection of this area, giving us a clue of the strength of the sellers here. It appears that the sellers are still very present at this juncture in the market, but the breakout of this bearish trend line is giving us a scenario that states otherwise. And one thing, in addition to the breakout of that bearish trend line, is the appearance of this higher low here. We saw the first low here at the beginning of the week. We saw this the lowest point price has ever gotten to since the beginning of the week at around the 1.0400 level, and the next high was a little bit higher at around the 1.06400 area. And whenever we cite a higher low like this, we should be expecting that there is going to be a change in momentum. And this was followed by a breakout of this bearish trend line, giving us a further signal that a bullish momentum at this point appears to be coming valid. So since the impulsive move happened yesterday, we saw this impulse leg yesterday during the New York session yesterday, and we saw price do a retracement phase, retracement back into the 1.07600 area. And what happened afterwards was multiple rejection of this level to give us a clue of an indecision in this market, but a breakout of that structure appears to have given us a signal that it appears price wants to be going to the upside. So with this current scenario we have here on the GBPUSD, the first thing we want to be doing is to delete this, as this is no longer relevant at this point, and let us look out for key levels that will be guiding our action during the New York session today. So in order to find a key level here, we need to bring out our line chart so that we can have specific points of connection at this point. So bringing out our line chart here, and one thing I have noticed here is this level at around the 1.07750 area. As you can see, how this level has been a major determinant of price action in the past. If we look closely into the structure since the beginning of the week, we saw the rejection here by the sellers, we saw the break above, then price came back here with an attempt to push price to the upside, but it was met with a breakdown of structure. And so with the final breakout of this level yesterday, we want to be looking forward to a bullish momentum at this point, right above that level we just identified here. So we have somewhere around the 1.07650, or is it 1.07? Let's see. Okay, I think 1.07600 would be most appropriate here. So let's label it 1.07600, right? Yes, 1.07600. So we have 1.07600 to be our yardstick for the New York session today. And what have we seen since the beginning of today's session? We saw our price has consistently rejected that level, giving us a clue of a build-up for buying potential here. So now that we have the scenario here, if you had missed this move, that is the multiple rejection of this level to push price to the upside, if you had missed this move, how do we intend to trade this during the New York session today? So well, what I'll be saying here is that we want to be looking for buy opportunity at this point, and if we are going to see at any point in time price comes back to do a retest of any structure around here, we want to be looking for buying opportunity. But one thing I also want to share with you here is the previous structure, that is this level at the 1.01900 level, which has held price resisted for some time. We can see every time price comes within that area, sellers have been coming in to push price to the downside. We also have one here on Tuesday where price came into the structure and it was sent crashing to the downside here. So we want to be mindful of how price is going to respect this level. So let's see if price is going to break out of that structure, and if we have a breakout of that structure, then definitely we want to be looking for buying opportunities at a retest of the structure to the upside. So this is what I want to be looking forward to during the New York session today. So one thing I want to say here is this: if you had missed this move from this point, well, let's wait for price to break above the 1.0900 level, where we want to be looking for another opportunity to join the rally. So if price breaks above, I said we want to be looking forward to a retest. Remember, when we see a breakout of structure, we don't want to get too excited and jumping into the rally. We want to wait for further confirmations to happen in the form of the retest of this area, where we want to look at it, look at an opportunity to join the rally to the upside. So that is what we have here. And where will our take profit target be if we are going to be taking this bullish opportunity? Well, to get the take profit target, let's scale up to the higher time frame and let's see, have an holistic perspective of what is really going on in the market at this point, and then use the previous structure to identify a take profit target. Well, if we look at the daily time frame here, we can see that price has been on a very strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the year, and we can see how price broke down the 1.1500 level a couple of weeks ago, and the breakdown led to multiple rejection of the 1.0600 level. We saw the breakdown of the structure. We saw a sharp rejection of this area in the last 4 trading days here. We saw the first rejection, the second one, with third one here, and it appears the bullish momentum seems to want to continue to go to the upside at this point. Now, what I want to do here, it's obvious that price has been on a bearish momentum, and any bullish potential here was more likely going to be a counter trend opportunity. So what we want to be doing here is to take into consideration this previous impulse leg here that started a couple of weeks ago and ended at around the 1.03600 area. So since we have this impulsive move, we want to see this as a retracement phase, and we are looking at somewhere within the golden zone area as our take profit target. So in order to get the golden zone area, we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg here, and we should be aiming at somewhere around the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg as our take profit target. So we should be identified somewhere between the 1.14550 level and the 1.10400 area as our take profit target. So we have a TP target around here. Let's place it right within the box for the sake of clarity, and let's give this a green color, and then we have a background yellow. Good. So we have somewhere right here as our take profit target area. So we should be having a take profit target sitting around this area between the 1.10600 and the 1.1500 area. And the reason why we are simply having that is simply because of the current structure we have here. We know we have this bearish impulse leg. Then we want to see this as a retracement phase of that impulse leg right within this area, after which we want to see how price is going to relate with the zone. Are we going to be having a reversal pattern here in such a way that we have a multiple rejection of the structure to send price going to the downside, or are we going to be having a break above of the structure where a retest will be sending price going to the upside? And if we look closely into this current structure here, we can see that the structure was broken a couple of weeks ago to the downside here, and from a technical standpoint, whenever we cite a breakdown or structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of structure before the move in the prior leading price actions direction. So let's see what happens during the New York session today. So we have our take profit target somewhere around here. So let's go back to the 1 hour time frame and let's see how many pips that is going to be fetching us if price continues in that direction. So we have the scenario here on the 1 hour time frame where I said we're waiting for a breakout of this 1.0. What is happening here? Okay, breakout of the 1.0900 level where a retest of structure will give us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside here. And if that happens, we should be having somewhat around I'd say somewhere between a minimum of, let's say, 150 pips to a maximum of about 500 pips to catch here. So let's see how price action plays out in that perspective, that is that bullish perspective here. Now, the other scenario I want to be looking at here, considering the long-term bearish momentum we have here on the GBPUSD, is a possible sell momentum that could continue from this area. And remember, we have a very strong long-term bearish perspective here. And one thing we saw in the last 24 hours was this impulsive move to the upside, where price came right back into the 1.0900 level, which price has been rejecting since the beginning of the week. We saw those move right back into the 1.07600 level, and then it appears in the last 1 hour here we saw a sharp rejection of this area, and this will likely lead into a reversal pattern in the form of a double top structure. So if we have a breakdown of the 1.07600 area, which will be the neckline of the double top structure here, we want to be seeing this as a bearish signal where a retest of structure is likely going to be sending price going to the downside. So what I'm saying here is if a breakdown of the structure happens, remember we don't want to get too excited when we cite the breakdown of this 1.07600 level. We want to wait for price to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of that structure before we join that decline to the downside here. And in addition to the setup we have here, considering the fact that we have the USD pair here, there is a major event coming up today, which is likely going to be affecting the dollar too as well. That is going to be coming up in 4 hours 30 minutes from now, and that is the gross domestic product annualized Q2, which might have a major impact on this price. So we want to get ourselves prepared in such a way that if any perspective or any possibility comes in, we are ready to take advantage of that move. So if you have any question regarding what I've just explained so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section and let me see how I can be of help in that regard. Now that is that on the GBPUSD. Then we went on to talk about the GBPJPY too, where we also had a similar setup, as we were also looking forward to a selling opportunity here on the GBPJPY, but lo and behold, that did not happen as price broke right above the 1.54500 area, which also shares a confluence with the bearish trend line we were able to identify here yesterday to give us a bullish signal. And one interesting thing about the structure we have here on the GBPJPY is that if we look into the past here, we can see that the 156.500 area has been a major selling niche for participants in this market, and it appears we had a little breakout of that level around this area. So is this going to be a false breakout, or is this also going to tend towards respecting that bearish momentum that has been coming out from this area going into the New York session? So these are the things we want to be looking at. So the first thing I want to say here is we delete this, and then let's look at how we could actually take advantage of any trading opportunity lining up for us here today. So looking at the current structure we have here on the GBPUSD, since we already have a breakout of that structure and we had multiple rejection of the 156 level, I want to be using the 156 level here as my yardstick for the trading session today. So let's relabel this to the 156.00 level. So we have 15600 level. So we have this area. So this is what we saw in the last 24 hours. We saw this impulsive move to the upside. Price came back into the 156.00 level, which is also a very strong psychological level considering the nature of this digit. And then we saw multiple rejection here, and price appears to be moving to the upside at this point. So one thing I will be saying here is that if you had missed this opportunity here, that is the breakout retest of the structure at this point, if you had missed this move at this point, then is there any other opportunity we could take advantage of? So let's see. So we have a previous structure sitting right around the 157 Japanese yen level. So we had a key level, we have a previous structure here, and if we look into the past here, we have the same scenario around that area. So if a breakout of that structure happens, then we want to be seeing that as a possible potential opportunity of a trend continuation to the upside. So what I'll be doing here is to identify this level as our next yardstick. So we saw, all right, so we have this, what's happening? Okay, so we have this area, and we can see price is right within that area at this point. And let's see if we are going to be having a significant breakout of that structure. So if we have a breakout of that structure, and what we want to be looking forward to is a retest of the structure, and we look out for patterns to join the rally to the upside. And one thing also we should take into consideration is the fact that if a breakout of this level happen, the retest of structure might not happen at exactly the 157 area. It could come as far as this area. But one thing we want to be looking forward to give us that confirmation that is going to be a bullish momentum is a reversal pattern. So it could be a double bottom structure, a inverse head and shoulder pattern. We want to join the breakout retest of that structure in our lower time frame to the upside here. So that is one scenario we want to be looking forward to at this point. And then the other scenario, the other perspective is if a possible bearish momentum comes in at this point. So that is going to happen. We are going to be selling this only if we cite a breakdown of the 156 Japanese yen level. And remember, we don't want to get too excited when we cite a breakdown of that structure, as there is a likelihood that price might actually come back to do a retest of the structure that was broken yesterday. So we had a bearish trend line that was broken yesterday. Price might likely come back to do a retest of the structure with the intention of sending price go to the upside. So we want to be very mindful of what is going to be happening here. So what I'm saying at this point is that as soon as price breaks down to 156 level, we want to be patient enough to wait and see if price is going to come back and do a retest of that structure at the 156 area. And so if that happens and we start seeing multiple rejection of this level, or probably a reversal pattern happening around this area, or selling pressures within this zone, then we want to be getting ready to join the decline. So that is how we intend to sell the GBPJPY if a selling opportunity happens here. So we are not selling here, we are waiting for a breakdown of the structure, looking out for a retest to join the decline if it happens. So that is how we intend to trade the GBPJPY during the New York session today. Let me quickly run through the chart and see if there are any questions regarding what I've discussed so far before I move on to the next pair. All right, so we have okay, Innocent Babe, good morning to you. How are you doing today? I saw you were a little bit late yesterday. I trust you're doing well. All right, okay, so good morning everyone. And then Innocent Babe is asking, how are you? Okay, I'm fine, is gold gonna break the price of 1662 area, or we can continue to hold our sold position? And what about BTC? Okay, because gold yesterday, I closed my position at about 1,000 pips on the gold yesterday, and I'm beginning to see reversal patterns coming in, but I will be sharing with you what my thoughts are on the gold in a moment. So I hope you will stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on that. All right, 359, good morning, how are you doing today? I am not sure I saw you yesterday. Trust you are doing well. All right, Innocent Babe. Okay, glad to hear you're good. So let's move on to the next pair, and we shall see to that. So the next pair we are going to be looking at today is the US oil and what is happening on the US oil. I think we're beginning to see bullish signal here on the US oil. What was our expectation yesterday? We were actually looking at the bearish momentum since the beginning of the week. As we can see, price started the week at around the $80 mark, and we continue to witness the breakdown. We continue to witness selling pressure right from that $80 level. And what happened since the beginning of the week was that we were looking for selling opportunities, and we were actually taking these opportunities, but we were being stopped out at our entry point at the $79 area. And now something significant happened during the course of yesterday, which appears to be changing our perspective of a selling momentum here on the US oil, and I will be sharing that with you in a moment. So now, looking at the current structure we have here on the 1 hour time frame, what is the thing you would observe here? Well, we saw that following the impulsive move that started last week, we saw the breakdown of that demand zone. Remember, we had this breakdown of the $83 level, and then what happened afterward was price moved right down into the $76 area, where we started seeing multiple rejection of this level, giving us a clue of a possible reversal pattern. So we saw the first rejection here at the $76 level on Tuesday. Price came back into the $79 area. Then we had another rejection of that zone during the course of yesterday's trading session. And then what happened afterwards? We started seeing bullish signal. Price continued to rise to the upside, giving us a clue of this pattern turning out to be a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And with the breakout of the neckline here, further gives us a matured reversal pattern. So with the breakout of that neckline, what is the expectation we are looking forward to at this point? Well, if we look at the structure here, we actually expect from a technical standpoint that price is likely going to come back into the $79 level, which is the key level of the reversal pattern we just cited here, after which we're going to be looking out for structures on lower time frame that will be supporting a trend continuation to the upside. So that is the first thing that comes to mind from a technical standpoint here, but it's not all the time price follows a technical standpoint. So normally we have to put in some other things into consideration to be able to identify what really is going on in the market. Now, from a technical, from an holistic perspective, I mean from a long-term perspective here, we'll know that this has the US oil has been on a very strong bearish momentum in a couple of months now, and in order to see that, let's scale up a little bit to the daily time frame so that we can all be on the same page here. So right now on the daily time frame, what do we have here? Though we had a long-term bullish momentum, but what happened since June of this year? We have seen price continue to find lower lows and lower highs, and we were able to identify this by connecting the series of lower highs here to give us this resultant bearish trend line, and this move collapsed right back into the bullish trend line. And then what happened afterwards? During the early days of this week, we saw the break of this month rather, we saw the breakdown of that bullish trend line. Price continued to decline to the downside. And now what are we seeing here is looking more like a bullish momentum is coming in, probably with the intention of retesting that bullish trend line one more time. I don't know yet, but on the lower time frame we begin to get things more clearly. So we scale down to the 4 hours time frame, and let's see what is happening here on the 4 hours time frame. And on the 4 hours time frame, we saw something that happened last week. We saw multiple rejection of the $86.50 level. That is around this area. We saw multiple rejection here, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this juncture in the market. And we saw the selling pressure here culminated in the final breakdown of the demand zone here during the later part of last week's trading session to send price crashing right down into the demand zone, which I just identified here this morning. So now with the current structure we have here and looking at the breakdown of the structure we have here, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that structure to be sending price going to the downside. So you can see how ambiguous the setup we have here is, and in that regard we need to be very, very careful on how we want to be trading the US oil. So there are two possibilities that are going to be happening here. We might be seeing a multiple rejection, we might be seeing a multiple rejection of the $83 level here. Remember, this is a structure that was broken last week, so we might be seeing a multiple rejection here that might be sending price going to the downside, or we could be having a breakout of that structure to give us a bullish signal at this point. So now, in order to have a better perspective into this, what we're going to be looking forward to right now is to see if we can sell the US oil at below the $83 level. Remember, we expect that price is coming back into the $79 level to do a retest of that structure. That is from a technical standpoint. Whenever we cite a breakout of structure, we expect that to happen where multiple rejection will be sending price going to the upside. So that is what we're actually expecting. So I'm looking at this. Okay, fine. If we have that technical standpoint and we are actually on a bearish momentum here, why not plan selling the US oil right below the $83 level in such a way that we, as price moves in our direction, we move our stop loss to break even, and let's see how price is going to relate with the $79 level. That is, let's see what happens here. If price is going to do multiple rejection of that level, then we know that we're having a bullish momentum, which lines up with the reversal pattern we identified here. And if we have a breakdown of that structure, then we know, okay, fine, our selling momentum appears to be very, very valid. So what we want to do now is to look out for how we want to sell right around this area. How do we want to sell right around the $83 level as long as price continue to rally below that level? So in order to do that, we'll scale down to the 50 minutes time frame where we want to see the structure that we have here. As we can see, following this impulsive move, as soon as price got into the $83 area, we have started seeing a consolidation phase here. So let's see what this consolidation phase is evolving into, and then let's use whatever pattern or whatever structure we have there to make a decision on the US oil. So right now on the 50 minutes time frame, this is what we have here on the 50 minutes time frame. And let me see, let's scale down to the 5 minutes time. Let's see what is happening really. All right, so on the 5 minutes time frame, this is what we have here. We can see that the bullish momentum appears to be diminishing at this point. As we can see, it wasn't as strong as it was before, and price continued to the momentum continued to reduce, and then we saw what happened here. We saw an engulfing candle, and what I want to do at this point is to identify the structure. Let's bring out our line chart here. Remember, this is at the 5 minutes time frame. We bring out our line chart here, and let's connect the bus series of higher lows, and let's see how it lines up with what we have. Okay, so we have something like this. And so what I'll be saying at this point is that we can see how this trend line has been respected in the last since the early hours of today. We have seen price climbed up. We had multiple rejection. Buyers were respecting that bullish trend line, and what happened afterwards was a breakdown of that trend line. So with a breakdown of that trend line, that's a signal. Remember, we break out of structure, we've seen a signal, but we don't want to get too excited at this point, as we want to wait for further confirmations to happen, and that is likely going to come in the form of a retest of this bullish trend line, or probably the structure here where we want to be joining the decline to the downside. So in order to make our job easier during the New York session today, so what we're going to be doing at this point is to identify a structure that will be guiding our action for any selling momentum from this level. So looking at the structure we have here, I'm going to be identifying somewhere around the $82.50 area as my yardstick going forward. So what this simply means is that if price continues to rally right below this level, I want to be comfortable in my sell position here. So let's label this area for the sake of clarity. So we have the $82.50 area, and that is going to be an area. Below this area, we're going to be looking forward to selling opportunities at this point. So that is what we've seen here on the 5 minutes time frame. If you want, you might join the decline right now, or you could wait for price. Let's see if price is going to come back and do a retest of either the trend line or the key level we've identified here. So let's go back to the 1 hour time frame, and let's see things as they are, and let's see where our take profit target is going to be. So we have a structure here already. Remember, we have the $82 level which we've started on the 5 minutes time frame, and let's see how this level is going to be respected. So if I were you, you might want to join at this point in the market with a stop loss right above the $82.50 area. So let's have something like this. We have a structure here, and then we have our stop loss. If you can afford like 90 pips stop loss, then you could join with a take profit target within the demand zone here. So we can have our take profit target within the previous demand zone which we identified here. Remember, we had a reversal pattern here, and as soon as price comes within this neckline area, we want to be moving our stop loss to break even or lock in some profit. So even if you have your take profit at the neckline, that's about, let's see, about 340 pips thereabout, which is not bad. So let's see how price is going to play out at this point. So if you can avoid a stop loss of about 90 pips, 100 pips thereabout, you could actually join at this point, and let's see how price plays out. Remember, we have a structure already that is guiding our action. We had a reversal pattern, we had a breakout of structure, and then we expect that since we had a structure here last week that was broken to the downside, and we having multiple rejection of this area, we might be looking for also a selling opportunity that will come back into the neckline area. So the intention of the sell move is to see how price is going to relate to the neckline here. Is it going to respect it in such a way that price comes back to the upside? And if that happens, we know we have locked our profits, and then we join the rally at a breakout retest of the structure on our lower time frame. However, if a breakdown of that neckline happens, then definitely we want to be looking for selling opportunity. So we look forward to a retest of structure, then we could add more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the US oil, and that's how I intend to trade the US oil during the New York session today. If you have any question regarding what I am talking about, what I've discussed here so far, feel free to drop in your inquiries in the comment section. So let's move on to the next pair, and the next pair we looked at yesterday is the US tech. And on the US tech, I was able to make some profit here yesterday, and I hope you took advantage of that move. Remember, where are we yesterday? We were around this point yesterday. We were around here yesterday, and what we did yesterday to make our job easier in taking advantage of an opportunity here was to identify a key level at the $11,200 mark. And what I said yesterday was that if we have a breakout of that key level and the retest of structure, we want to be joining the rally to the upside. And lo and behold, that is what happened. We saw the breakout here. Price came back to do a retest of the structure. In fact, we had double retest of that structure, and we saw this move to the upside, and price moved about, how many pips that is, moved about 300 pips approximately in our favor before we started seeing this retracement move back to the downside. And why were we thinking of buying opportunity here on the US tech? The reason why we were buying the US tech is simply because price is right within a very strong demand zone that has a memory of buying power. And in order to make things clear for you, or for those who are not part of the session yesterday, let's scale up to the daily time frame and let's see how we really got to the decision of buying the US tech. Well, this is the daily time frame here, and despite the fact that we are on a very strong bearish momentum, as you can see, we had the bearish trend line connecting the series of lower highs here. One thing that caught our attention was how participants in this market gathered at around the $11,200 area to buy the US tech in the past. So we saw the first rejection of the zone in the month of June. We saw here in the month of June, and then in the month of July we saw a couple of other rejection at this area, giving us a clue into the strength of the buyers at this point, at this juncture in the market. So what we were looking forward to when we cited this was that, okay, fine, since price is right within that area, and since the beginning of the week we've continued to see multiple rejection of that level. So with the citation of this structure here, we're looking, okay, fine, is there a likelihood that price might likely respect that demand zone one more time to send price go to the upside? And if that happens, we want to get ourselves prepared to take advantage of that move. And on the contrary, a selling momentum will be valid here if we see a breakdown of the demand zone where a retest of structure will give us further confirmation to join the decline. But that did not happen, as we continue to see price reject that demand zone on the lower time frame. And in that regard, we identified that key level at the $11,200 area. So if you are taking advantage of that move as projected yesterday, kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of that move. So right now, price is still right above that demand zone which we identified on the daily time frame. And what we want to be doing at this point is this. And especially for those who had missed out on this opportunity yesterday, that is the trade that we took yesterday. If you had missed out of this opportunity, let's look at what the current market structure is telling us, and if market is going to give us a second chance to join the rally. So now, following the impulsive move to the upside here, we want to take this impulsive move into consideration, and then we want to be taking this move that we see here as a possible retracement of that previous impulse leg. And when will this retracement phase end? That is what we don't know, but we have a parameter, we have a tool that we use to identify such potential. So we bring out our Fibonacci retracement tool, run it through the previous impulse leg here, and we should be identifying somewhere around the 50% and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg as an area we want to be looking for buy opportunity. So if you had missed this trade yesterday, then it appears we have another opportunity to join the rally at this zone. So I'm able to identify a zone right here within the $11,200 area and the $11,320 area. So let me label this for the sake of clarity so that we can have a visual understanding of what we are talking about here. So let's delete the retracement tool here, as it is no longer needed. So what I'm simply saying here is this: following this impulsive move to the downside, we expect that price will come back and do a retest, move into the golden zone area. It could be the 50, it could be the 618, could be the 786 area, but most importantly, what we are looking forward to is a reversal pattern around this area, after which we want to join the rally to the upside. So this is how we intend to join the second wave of this impulsive move if it's going to happen. And at this point, if you are still on this trade, you want to move your stop loss to lock in some profit, or move your stop loss to break even at this point. And then let's see if we are going to be having a reversal pattern here on our lower time frame to add more position to our existing trade. So if you are having this scenario that we have here, we're waiting for that reversal pattern to happen. It could be a double bottom structure, it could be an inverse head and shoulder pattern, whatever pattern it is, breakout retest on lower time frame, boom, you want to join the rally to the upside. So my take profit target still remain right around the $11,750 area, and this is simply because of the long-term bearish momentum we have here on the US tech. Remember, we had the breakdown of the structure during the course of last week's trading session. We had the breakdown of the structure, the $11,750 level. Remember, this area has been a very strong demand zone prior to the breakdown of that structure. And from a technical standpoint, when we cite a breakdown of structure, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of that area, and after which we might be looking forward to see how price is going to relate to that level. How we're going to be having multiple rejection of this level to send price go to the downside one more time, or are we going to be having a breakout of the structure in such a way that a retest will give us a confirmation of a trend continuation to the upside. So this is what we are looking forward to here on the US tech. Excuse me. So our TP targets still remain right around the 11,600 area and the 11,900 area. And remember, I identified this area as a possible sell window as well, as we want to see how price is going to be relating to that level. So at this point, we are still looking forward to buying the US tech, and let's see how price is going to relate with the $11,750 area. So that is that on the US tech. If you still have any questions, you can still you can drop it in the comment section, and let's see. So we'll move on to the next pair we talked about yesterday. And what is the next pair we did yesterday? I think we did the gold, of course. I hope Innocent Babe is still around. So we did the gold here yesterday, and what do we have here on the gold? Remember, we've been expecting the selling momentum to come in since the beginning of the week, as we continue to see multiple rejection of the $1,650 level in the past couple of days. We saw our price has consistently rejected that level, and what did we see? What did we say yesterday? We said, okay, fine, since we have that multiple rejection of that area, we took advantage of a sell momentum. So we saw this impulsive move at the beginning of the week. Price came right down, and then we saw this double top structure, and I was able to join this decline. I told you on Monday I joined this decline and added more position to my existing trade after price came back into doing a retest of the $1,640 level. In fact, we saw multiple rejection of that level, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at that point. So we saw price come to as far as the $1,615 yesterday. Was unable to get into our TP target, our proposed TP target, but price moved about 1,500 pips in our in fact 2,500 pips in our direction before we started seeing the multiple rejection of this level yesterday, leading back into our entry zone, leading back into our entry zone at this point. So at the close of the session, I actually locked in my profit, and I was taking out around this area, and price appears to have come back into where we triggered our sell position at the beginning of the week. And what did we see during the course of yesterday? We saw an engulfing candle that took price right out of that structure at the $1,640 level. So now it's becoming very ambiguous with the current structure we have here, after considering the long-term bearish momentum we have here on the XAUUSD. And if we look at what happened last week, remember we had the strong demand zone last week, which was holding price action supported for quite a while before we finally saw the breakdown of that demand zone during the later part of last week's trading session to give us a bearish signal. And from a technical standpoint, when we cite a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure. And what happened afterwards was an impulsive move to the downside, and then price has been rejecting that sell window area, exactly that sell window area, pushing price to the downside here. And For those who are taking advantage of that move right around that area, kudos to you for identifying that opportunity. So if you are taking that sell opportunity right within the sell window we identified here yesterday, very good job for identifying that opportunity. But one thing I'll be advising you to do at this point is to move your stop loss to break even. And why have I said that? I'll be showing you that in a moment. Now look at what happened here yesterday. We saw the breakout of the $1,640 area after multiple rejection of this area. We saw the first rejection of the $1,625 level. Price rejected the $1,620. Then we saw another rejection of the $1,615 level before the breakout of the $1,640 happened. So a breakout like this is more or less like a bullish signal for me personally. But because of the fact that we are still within a very strong bearish momentum here, we need to be very mindful of how we are going to be trading this. So if you are taking the sell opportunity at the window there, as we saw multiple rejection there, kudos to you. Move your stop loss to break even at this point. And what we want to do right now is to see if price is going to respect the $1,640 in such a way that we have multiple rejection of this level, or probably a reversal pattern here. And if we cite a reversal pattern right above the $1,640 level, I want to be seeing this as a bullish signal. So if a reversal pattern happens here, a breakout retest to structure happens, then we want to be joining the rally to the upside. And if you are not comfortable, then wait for price to break out of this bearish trend line, after which a retest of that structure will give us a confirmation to join the rally to the upside. So if you are taking the selling opportunity here yesterday, kudos to doing that. Move your stop loss to break even. And what I'm seeing here in the last 6 hours right now looks more like a reversal pattern right above the $1,640 area following the breakout of the structure. So in this regard, move your stop loss and let's see how price is going to relate to the $1,640. If we are going to be having persistent rejection of this level, then it's going to be a bullish momentum here. So that is what we are going to be looking forward to on the XAUUSD. And let us see what is happening around this point here on our lower time frame. So let's go down to the lower time frame and let's see. So let's go to the 15 minutes, or is it the 5 minutes time frame? Let's go to the 15 minutes. Okay, this is the 15 minutes time frame now, and let's see what is really happening here. Okay, so we have this impulsive move to the downside on the 15 minutes time frame. Price has come right above the $1,640 level. We saw the first rejection, price came back down. We saw the second rejection here, and we found a higher low, giving us a signal that there is a bullish momentum coming in. Then we saw a breakout of that structure. Price came back to do a retest of the structure, and it appears we want to be going to the upside here. So what I'll do here is this. Let's identify a neckline of this reversal pattern here. So we have right around the $1,647 500 area. We have a neckline here. Let's see. So we have 1,000. Let's label this area for the sake of clarity. So we have the 1,647. Hold on, I think I made a mistake there. $1,647 500. Let's give this a pop color, and then I'll place it right at the top right corner of my screen. Okay, so we have this area which has been broken already during the early hours of today, and what we have here looks more like a reversal pattern to me at this point. So well, I'll be advising, if you're a counter trend trader, you can actually take advantage of a bullish momentum right above this level. That is somewhere right above this area, buying it right above the neckline with your stop loss right below the $1,655 area, which is about 300 pips thereabouts, and with a take profit target sitting at this point, and that's about 1,200 pips to catch here. So you could take advantage of this move right now, while your sell position you've moved your stop loss to break even on your sell position here, and let's see how this is going to move. So I'm of the opinion that with the reversal pattern cited here on the lower time frame, which is also right above the $1,640 level that we identified on the higher time frame, I want to be seeing this as a reversal. We had a breakout retest of the 164, and then there is a likelihood that price is going to go to the upside here, which might probably lead to the further breakout of the bearish trend line we identified on the daily time frame, where a retest of structure might be sending price go to the upside. So we need to be very, very careful here. So at the meantime, going into the New York session today, let's take advantage of this bullish move right to the take profit target here with about 1,200 pips to catch at this point. Now going back to the higher time frame, and let's see what we have here. That is what I'll just be suggesting at this point. Price is still right above the 1,640, and I want to be seeing that as a bullish signal. So if we go to the daily time frame, let's see the current structure we have here on the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, let me use another chart of the gold to so on the daily time frame here, this is what we have. On the daily time frame, this is what we have here. Remember, we have a structure here. I hope you remember that we had a structure on daily time frame here that was broken a couple of weeks ago, and so we have somewhere around the $1,700 area, which was broken a couple of weeks ago, and there is a likelihood that price, whenever we cite a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price is coming back to do a retest of that structure in order to send price going to the downside here. So I showed you a counter trend opportunity on the 15 minutes time frame, so you might want to be taking advantage of that move. We will take profit target sitting around the $1,700 level, and let's see how price is going to relate to this level. Are we going to be having a multiple rejection of this area to send price going to the downside, or are we going to be having a breakout of that structure to push price to the upside? So pending the time that happens, in the meantime, let's join that counter trend opportunity I identified on the 15 minutes time frame. And one thing about counter trend opportunity is that counter trend position is that as soon as price moves in your direction, you want to move your stop loss to lock in your profit accordingly, so that you don't get caught up in any sudden reversal moves that might go against us. So that is that on the XAUUSD. I don't know if you have any question on this one. Still, is Innocent Babe still in the room? If you have any question, let me know, and I will be willing to shed more light on that. So let's move on to the next pair. I hope I'll be able to finish this before the session laps. So the next pair we are going to be looking at is the USDJPY, and remember we had the selling opportunity here on the USDJPY yesterday. Where were we yesterday? We were around this point yesterday, remember? We were still within the sell window, and notice what happened here on the USDJPY. Since the beginning of the week, price has been right within the sell window we identified at the first day of this week, and this gives me the clue that the sellers are very, very strong at this point, as every attempt by the buyers to push price right above the 145 Japanese yen level has been met with strong resistance from the sellers. And I told you yesterday that in order to make our job easier, we want to be looking at selling right below the 144.600 area. I was able to identify this key level here yesterday, and lo and behold, what happened afterwards was a breakdown retest of that structure, and price went to as far as how many pips that is. It moved about 70 pips thereabout in our direction before we started seeing this retracement move back to the upside, and I was able to take about 30 pips here because I moved my stop loss to lock in some profit when I started seeing rejection of the 144.200 level, and lo and behold, price ran back up into our entry zone. So if you took advantage of that move yesterday, definitely you will either be in some profit or probably the worst case scenario, you'll be in break even at this point. Now, price is right back within the sell window, which we identified here on the 1 hour time frame. Remember, we had this impulsive move last week, which was a bearish signal for us, and we expect that price will probably do a retest of structure, probably this bullish trend line or the sell window here, which is right within the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. But right now we're at the peak of that golden zone area, which is the 78.6% area, and we have been witnessing multiple rejection of that 78.6 retracement since the beginning of the week. So for the USDJPY, I'm still tending towards a bearish momentum here as long as price is still within the sell window. And if we look at what happened on the daily time frame, we can see that price we had a supply zone right around the 145 Japanese yen area, and price has consistently rejected that level since the beginning of the month of September. Here we saw our price has consistently rejected that supply zone, giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers at this point in the market. So what I'm still holding on the buy on the selling opportunity here on the USDJPY as long as price continue to oscillate right below that supply zone. However, let's look at the 4 hours time frame. However, if a breakout of the supply zone at any point in time happens, hold on a second. If a breakout of the supply zone at any point in time happens, we want to see this as a bullish signal. But remember, it's not just a breakout of that structure. Candle will break out and close above that structure, an emphatic engulfing candle, not like the previous one that happened last week where we saw price went right above and came back immediately. Not that kind of candle. We want to see an engulfing candle closing right above that level, and if that happens, then that might likely be a bullish signal. Then we wait for price to give us further confirmation to happen in the form of a retest of the structure to give us an opportunity to join the rally to the upside. But I doubt that is going to happen anytime soon. But if it does, we should get ourselves prepared to catch that move. Now, remember I showed you something on the economic calendar, the GDP quarter 2, which is going to be happening in the next 3 hours from now. I want to get ourselves prepared. It's likely going to have a major impact on price movement today, and I'm thinking that this move is going to be very bearish. So let's get ourselves prepared for that move. So I still have the 144.600 area as my key level for today as well. So if price goes below the 144.600 level, I want to be selling one more time. And if we have a breakdown of this level here, the 144.200 area, price breaks below the previous structure here and a retest, then I want to be adding more position to this trade. In fact, the USDJPY looks like a trade that will be giving us multiple entry on this one. So let's see how price goes on this one, and we shall be doing an update in this regard tomorrow. So we've been waiting for over 72 hours for this bearish move to happen, and let's see if it's going to move as expected. So that's that on the USDJPY, and the last pair I'm going to be treating is the CHFJPY. And let's quickly look at the CHFJPY before we call it a day. So on the CHFJPY, the bearish momentum is still very valid here. And let's quickly go to the daily time frame and let's see what I showed you on the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, we've been on a strong bullish momentum since the beginning of the year, and as a result of this, we had this bullish trend line holding price action supported for quite some time now. And one thing that happened between the month of June and July was that we identified the 144 Japanese yen level as a major selling niche for participants in this market, as it was met with stiff resistance by the sellers before we finally saw the breakout of the structure during the early days of this month. So we saw the breakout of that structure where price moved to as far as the 152 Japanese yen level, which is the highest point the CHFJPY has ever reached since 1980. And that tells us something. And one thing we expect whenever we sight a breakout of the structure like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure, after which we want to be looking forward to trend continuation to the upside. But the intervention of the Bank of Japan last week in the forex market to reduce the depreciation of the Japanese yen gave us this impulsive move last week, and which we took advantage of. I think we took about 400 pips here last week, and price came back into that structure here, and we are not sure if it's going to turn out to be a demand zone that will be pushing price to the upside at this point. But one thing we identified here on the CHFJPY, that is on the 4 hours time frame, was the reversal pattern here. So we had this reversal pattern identified here last week. We saw multiple rejection of this level, so it was a reversal pattern, and then we identified a neckline of that reversal pattern right around the 148 Japanese yen area, which was finally broken during the later part of last week. We saw the breakdown of that neckline, and whenever we see a breakdown of neckline like this, we expect that price is coming back to do a retest of structure. So we identified a sell window around the 148 Japanese yen area, which also falls within the 58 and 78.6% of the previous impulse leg, where we said we are going to be looking out for reversal patterns to join the decline to the downside. And lo and behold, that is what happened yesterday. Remember, I shared two scenarios here yesterday on the CHFJPY, where I said counter trend traders could actually take advantage of the breakout of this channel. Remember, since the beginning of the week, price has been caught within this channel, right within the 146.500 area and the 145.250 area since the beginning of the week. So we said we are looking forward to signals in the form of a breakout of that structure. A breakout happened on our lower time frame, a retest of structure happened, and I told you you could take advantage of that counter trend opportunity with your take profit target sitting right within the sell window here. And if you had done that, you would have taken about, let's say, about 140 pips thereabout on this one. And I said if price comes within that sell window area, we want to be looking for multiple rejection to join the decline. And what happened afterwards was the last 24 hours we saw multiple rejection of this area, which falls within the 50% retracement of the previous impulse leg, and price moved significantly well in our direction. And as soon as price got this far, I was able to move my stop loss to break even. But what happened in the last 3 hours now, price is right back at our entry point, thereby taking us out at a break even. So right now I'm still break even on the CHFJPY, and I still think that the selling momentum is still very valid. The selling perspective here is still very valid as long as we have multiple rejection of the sell window. But right now what we don't know is when to sell. And we can see the last 3 hours here we've been seeing an engulfing candle taking price to the upside here. So let's see how this candle is going to relate with the neckline at the 148 Japanese yen level. Are we going to be seeing multiple rejection of that area one more time to send price going to the downside? But one thing I want to let you know here is that as long as price is right below the 148 Japanese yen level, we want to be selling the CHFJPY. So it's very comfortable. If you are selling here, it's still okay. As long as price is right below the 148 Japanese yen, we want to hold on a sell position on the CHFJPY. So this is how we intend to trade the CHFJPY going forward. So on this note, I think this is going to be the last pair we are going to be trading today. But before I call it a day, I want to run through do a recap of what we have talked about so far today before we call it a day. So let's quickly run through. The first pair we did today was GBPUSD, where we had a breakout of structure that negated our selling opportunity here on the GBPUSD. And what I said at this point is that we have a structure right around the 1.0900 level, which I said if a breakout of that structure happens, then we want to be looking forward to buying the GBPUSD at the breakout retest of the structure. We want to buy with the take profit target sitting somewhere around the 1.11 and the 1.15 area. What a huge area for take profit target on this one. And if price does not go that up and we find that we have a breakdown of the 1.07600 area, I want to be seeing this as a reversal pattern, probably respecting where you don't remember price started this week around this. It has been rejecting the 1.0900 level since the beginning of the week, and this rejection here might also be in line with the previous memory of selling pressure around this level. So if a breakdown of the 1.07600 happens, then what happens is that we are going to be waiting for price to give us further confirmation in the form of a retest of that structure before we be joining the decline to the downside on the GBPUSD. Then we went on to talk about the GBPJPY, which also have a similar scenario with what we have on the GBPUSD, and I was able to identify a level at the 157 Japanese yen area where I said if price breaks above that level, we want to be buying at a retest of that structure to the upside. And if a breakdown of the 156.00 level happens, where a retest or structure happens, we want to be careful, as we want to see multiple rejection here before we can join the decline to the downside. Then we moved on to talk about the US oil, where we are, sorry, is it the US oil, where we saw a breakout of structure happen yesterday. We were actually in a selling position on the US oil since Monday, but we were stopped out at break even yesterday as we cited a reversal pattern here, followed by a breakout of the $79 level, which appears to be the neckline of that reversal pattern. And from a technical standpoint like this, we expect that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure in such a way that we have a reversal pattern that is likely going to be sending price go to the upside here. However, considering the long-term bearish momentum we have here on the US oil, that is not going to we're not going to hold on to that alone, as we need to take other parameters into consideration as well. So we had a breakdown of the $83 level last week, and whenever we cite a breakdown of structure like this, we expect that price will come back and do a retest of that structure with the intention of sending price crashing to the downside. So with this in mind, that is, with this impulsive move in mind, and considering the long-term bearish momentum, I said we should be looking for selling opportunities right below this level. And what I did here was to scale down to the, I think, the 15 minutes time frame, where we cited a structure at around the $82.50 area, where I said below that level seems most appropriate to be selling the US oil. So if you could afford around 90 to 100 pips stop loss, you could actually enter right below the $82.50 level with a take profit target sitting right within the demand zone that has been respected since the beginning of this week. However, remember, we had this scenario here where we said a breakout of the neckline has happened and that price is likely going to come back and do a retest of the structure to same price go to the upside. So with this in view, as we join this decline to the downside, we want to see how price is going to relate with the $79 level. So as soon as price is moving in our direction to the downside, we want to be moving our stop loss to break even or lock in some profit. And as soon as price gets there, we move our stop loss further to lock in some more profit, maybe probably right below the $80.50 area or above the $80.50 area, where we want to see how price is going to relate to this level. Are we going to be having multiple rejection to send price go to the upside, or are we going to be having a breakdown of that structure in such a way that a retest will be giving us further confirmation to add more position to our selling position? However, if we have a break, if we have multiple rejection of that level, then we want to be seeing that reversal pattern here as a valid one. So we want to be seeing this reversal pattern as a valid one if we have multiple rejection of the $79 level. So what we do, if we see multiple rejection of this level, then our stop loss should be moved in such a way that we will at least will have locked in about, let's say, about 200 pips here before this bullish move begins. So if this bullish move begins in the form of a breakout retest of structure on lower time frame, we want to be joining the rally to the upside. So that is how we intend to trade the US oil. Then we went on to talk about the US tech, where we are already in profit in the US tech, as we identified a key level at the 11,200 area, where we took out the breakouts and retest of that structure during the course of yesterday's trading session, and we saw this impulsive move which led price into as far as the $11,550 area. And what I'm seeing afterwards looks more like a retracement phase of that impulse leg. And what we don't know right now is when this retracement phase is going to end. So in order to get that, we identify the killer. We identify a buy zone right around our golden zone area, which is right within the 50 and the 78.6% of the previous impulse leg. So what I'm saying here simply is that we are waiting for price to give us a reversal pattern here to join the second phase of this rally. So like I said, if you had missed this trade yesterday, we have another opportunity to join the second phase of this rally at the buy zone here. So we are looking forward to patterns here that suppose a trend continuation. Then we want to be joining the rally. And if you are still on this trade since yesterday, this is another opportunity to add more position to your existing trade. Our take profit target still remains at around the $11,750 area, and the reason why that is simply because we want to see how price is going to relate to this level, considering the long-term bearish momentum we have here. So are we going to be having a retest, a rejection of this level to send price go to the downside, or a breakout of structure to send price to the upside? So we don't know yet, but in the meantime, let's place our take profit target within this area between the 11,600 area and the 11,900 area, and let's see how price relates with that level. So that is that on the US tech. Then we went on to talk about the XAUUSD, where I was able to share the scenario with you, and I acknowledge those who took advantage of the sell opportunity from the sell window, which we identified yesterday. And for those who took advantage of that move, they will definitely be in about, let's say, about over 1,000 pips at this point in time. And I told you to move your stop loss to lock in some profit at this point, as we can see what happened in the last 24 hours here, following the impulsive move that broke out of the sub of this $1,640 level, which has been a selling niche for participants since the beginning of the week. With a breakout of that structure, it's more or less a signal that the buyers are becoming strong at this point in the market. And afterwards, we saw price do a retracement back into somewhere right above the $1,640 area, with multiple rejection of this level to give us a signal that the bullish momentum might be coming in. So I told you to buy around above the 1,647,500 area. I think I showed you this on the 15 minutes time frame, remember. So we had the scenario here where we saw a reversal pattern here on the 15 minutes time frame. We saw the first touch, second touch, we saw the breakout of structure. Price came back to do a retest of structure, and I said it's okay to buy this counter trend opportunity at the $1,647.50 area, while you move your stop loss of the previous sell position to lock in some profit here, as we see this move to the upside. So take profit target sits around this area, $1,660 area and the $1,700 area. And the reason why our take profit target might extend to $1,700 area is simply because of the structure we have on the daily time frame. And I think I showed you that structure on the daily time frame here, where we had this $1,700 area, which was broken during the second week of this month. We saw the breakdown of the structure, and we might be seeing price come back to do a retest of that structure to send price crashing to the downside. So let's see how far that bullish momentum will lead us to during the New York session today. So we get ourselves prepared for any possible opportunities that will be happening, and there is a likelihood that price might come back into this area, do a rejection one more time, and send price crashing to the downside. So let's get ourselves prepared for any of the scenario that is likely going to be happening. So that is that on the gold. Then we went on to talk okay, Innocent Vib, I just saw your comments, you're welcome. So let's move on to, we went on to talk about the USDJPY, where I told you I'm still expecting that sell momentum to happen. We took advantage of this move yesterday, and I think I made about 40 pips thereabouts on this one, as price came back to take me out of my position with about 30 pips in profit. And right now price is back within the sell window area, which is also the area where we are looking for selling opportunities on the USDJPY. So right now the key level we identify at the 144.600 area still remains very valid, and I told you that we should be selling right below this level. And if price continues to go to the downside with a breakdown of the 144.200 area, a retest of that area, we want to add more position to this trade. And like I said, the USDJPY, with the current structure we have here on the USDJPY, has a tendency of giving us multiple entries. So let's get ourselves prepared for all these multiple entries that might be coming up. Breakdown, retest to structure, you want to be joining the decline to the downside. And I said as long as price is within the sell window or right below the 144.600 area, we want to be selling. However, if a breakout of the supply zone that we identified on the daily time frame happens, that is, price breaks above with a close of candle on our higher time frame right above the supply zone, it will turn out to be a bullish signal. But we want to be patient enough to wait for price action to come back, do a retest of structure to send price to the upside. But I'm not sure that is going to be happening today. As I see, since the beginning of the week, price has consistently rejected this area. Sellers is very strong, appears to be very strong at this point. So let's see how this move is going to go during the New York session today. And I think I showed you a major event coming up in 2 hours time. Is it 3 hours time from now? The which is coming up and is also very likely to have a major impact on the price movement for today. So let's get ourselves prepared for this event too as well. Then we went on to talk about the CHFJPY, where we also have a similar scenario with that which we had on the USDJPY, where I'm still expecting a sell opportunity to come in at this point. And remember, we had hold on a second, my battery is running out. So we had a similar scenario here. I told you we had a bearish signal here yesterday last week, after the intervention of the Bank of Japan to normalize the devaluation of the Japanese yen, to bring it back to contention. So we saw this impulsive move to the downside, and we never can tell this move can be a signal that the Japanese yen might continue to gain momentum in the coming weeks. So I'm looking forward to reversal pattern within the sell window here to join the decline to the downside. So we're still looking for that selling opportunity to happen, and I also acknowledge those who took advantage of this reversal pattern at the site of that signal, the breakout retest of this structure here to join the bullish move right into the sell window at this point, which was able to give around 150 to 200 pips thereabout. So the selling momentum on the CHFJPY still remain very valid. So let's keep our fingers crossed so that we can take advantage of that move. So on this note, I would like to call it a day, and I really appreciate every single moment I had with you guys. You guys are really wonderful, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, same time, 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. West African time. As usual, let's come together and analyze, evaluate the financial market, and let's get ourselves prepared for the New York session tomorrow after seeing looking at how well we did so far. So I wish you best of luck during the New York session today, and always remember not to get too excited before be proud to open your position. You don't want to join a signal. Remember, you want to wait for confirmations to happen, and confirmations will definitely come in the form of a retest or structure. And if a confirmation does not come, please pass the trade. There are tons of opportunities in the financial market which we can take advantage of if we don't have confirmation in whatever trade we are planning for. Okay, so on this note, I wish you a wonderful day. Do have a good night rest, and best of luck during the New York session today. Bye bye.